Hello everyone. First I want to thank you for listening to our presentation. My name is Brett Takeuchi. Along with my teammates Alexis, Tyler, Baltazar, and Sarah, we are all students here at San Francisco State University. Our topic that we will be discussing is the effect of social media on physical activity in college students during COVID-19. COVID-19 has impacted so many areas of our daily lives, especially physical activity. Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, studies show that physical activity has decreased and individual sedentary behaviors have increased, mainly due to home confinement and quarantine and closure of facilities such as gyms and fitness centers. However, the main closure, especially for college students, are the closure of universities. A study by Barkley in 2020 stated that the closure of universities significantly decreased physical activity levels and significantly increased daily sitting in undergraduate students. This is mainly due to the cancellation of in-person classes, as it eliminated the need to walk from class to class and commute. Overall, the study showed that there was a reduction in mild physical activity and total physical activity within participants, whether they exercise before or not. As we continue to look for ways to stay connected with each other, one of the most effective ways is the usage of social media, which has been taken advantage by college students as they are the consumers of various mobile devices such as laptops, smartphones, and tablets. Regarded more as a sedentary behavior for entertainment, social media has been an effective information gathering site for topics related to health and fitness. Because of social media, home workouts have become more prevalent than they have ever been before. Two examples of social media platforms that have taken advantage to promote physical activity are YouTube, which offers many engaging on-demand and live-stream workouts and tutorials for all its viewers, and various fitness tracking apps such as the Nike Training Club app that allows for health metric tracking like the number of steps and can be used for workouts with no gym equipment such as walking, running, hiking, and yoga. For our study, we decided to separate physical activity into three topics: physical activity levels, motivation, and nutrition. Social media has been shown to impact these three topics in some way. For example, an article by Yang and Koenigsdorfer in 2020 stated that the more often physical activity apps were used, the more positive the change in physical activity. That means that the more often physical activity apps were used, the more physically active that person was. And going back to my YouTube example, certain fitness YouTubers have been shown that their video content has a positive relationship with attitudes to exercise towards all viewers, which means that their video content has been shown to enhance the level of exercise. In terms of motivation, many utilize health and fitness apps with a specific goal and stated that it actually helped achieve that goal. This shows that using social media along with a person's goals can enhance motivation to be physically active. An interesting fact about the effect of social media on nutrition is that a study by Laguna in 2020 stated that the word recipe was used 4 times greater at the very start of the pandemic within online searches. This shows that people are being aware of what they eat and cooking instead of going out and eating. Overall, studies show that there is definitely an effect on physical activity due to social media, and we want to test that out with the population with the most access to social media. So the purpose of our study is to examine the effects of social media on physical activity of college students before and during the COVID-19 pandemic.
For our research, we created a 30-question multiple-choice survey that focused on our research question, which is how has social media affected physical activity levels during COVID, as well as 2 subtopics. Subtopic 1 is social media's impact on motivation to work out, and subtopic 2 is social media's influence on diet and nutrition. We were able to get 35 participants to take the survey. Once all the surveys were completed, the team analyzed the results and created graphs showing the data, which you will see later in this presentation.
As seen by the graphs on the next slide, 10 people began using social media during the pandemic compared to only 1 person before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, 5 people reported never using any social media platforms. But during the pandemic, this changed to just 1 person. The number of people spending more than 5 hours on social media increased significantly during the COVID-19 pandemic. The number of individuals who are working out 5 or more hours per day before the pandemic decreased slightly during the pandemic. The number of individuals who work out outside and at home also increased during the pandemic. Many people stopped doing strength training in sports during the pandemic, most likely due to gym closures and cancellation of sports. Many of these individuals likely switched to other forms of exercise as suggested by the data. Running, biking, and yoga as forms of exercise increased during the pandemic as compared to before the pandemic.
Based on the data that we use from the survey, we decided to use bar graphs to better interpret our data. For instance, in Figure 1, we use the amount of social media usage. Before the pandemic, we see that a lot of more participants chose 1 to 3 hours. But during COVID, this rose a lot to 5 or more hours. The next figure shows the amount of exercise. The results are pretty equivalent. Just for a few months per month, a lot more people chose this option during COVID than before COVID. The next figure is the location of exercise. The significance of this shows that before COVID, a lot more participants chose indoors than with during COVID, a lot more chose outdoors and at home. The next figure shows the type of workout. The workouts vary from strength, HIIT, yoga, run, hiking, biking, sports, and climbing. With before COVID, we see that strength, which is practiced mostly in indoors, is high before COVID. Then if we see with yoga, which is more at home, and running, hiking, and biking are high with outdoors, they are higher during COVID. With the next and last type of motivation, the results show pretty similar and equivalent data.
The findings in our study both support and refute the literature previously shown in the introduction section. In the article written by Hayes, social media usage was explained to drastically increase, which allowed individuals to connect and inform with themselves, increasing motivation as well. Based on our results, this statement was supported because there was an overall increase in the amount of social media usage during the COVID-19 pandemic compared to before. On the other hand, Amar et al. Shows home confinement to decrease all physical activity levels. However, our results refuted this statement by portraying a drastic increase in the amount of individuals who exercised at home during the pandemic when we experienced these stay-at-home orders. In addition, the results showed that friends and social media were the only two factors influencing motivation that increased during the pandemic. Overall, this led us to the conclusion that social media has had an impact on individuals during the pandemic, showing the importance of maintaining nutritional health and increasing motivation.
And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.